How I Built This is a podcast by Guy Raz in which he brings on very successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, businessmen, and women representing companies, nonprofits, and other programs. For this project, I was assigned Rad Power Bikes and Mike Radenbaugh, Sal Khan and Khan Academy, and Julia Hart of Eventbrite. Mike Radenbaugh started Rad Power Bikes when he was just a teenager, biking 18 miles to and from classes. He used his hands-on skills and tech abilities to make his own electronic bike and eventually started a company, becoming one of the nation's largest electronic bike builders. Sal Khan was working at a hedge fund when he found out that his younger cousin was having serious issues with math class. He started doing over-the-phone tutoring sessions, but eventually moved to YouTube, where he amassed quite the following. He left his job at the hedge fund, started his nonprofit, and received funding from Bill Gates, Andor, and other companies to make Khan Academy the largest online tutoring platform in the world. Eventbrite was started after Julia Hart left her job on the set of Friends in Hollywood to move into the back of a warehouse with her husband. They worked there with 20 other startups, and it took them several years and 27 no's before they received one yes to get funding from a VC center. I listened to each of these podcasts heavily and learned a lot from all of the bosses, but I've come to the conclusion if I were to work for one boss, it would be Mike Radenbaugh of Rad Power Bikes. Similar to Mike Radenbaugh, I grew up in a very rural area of North Carolina. My closest school was 20 miles away, and although I did not have to hitch a ride or bike to work every day in school, I still had a love for the outdoors, a love for biking, and was lucky to be in a small town like Mike. Additionally, the number one characteristic I think Mike Radenbaugh has compared to the others is his ability to have fun at his program. Certainly, Khan Academy and Eventbrite were started with fun intentions, but I do think that it is a primary focal point of Rad Power Bikes. One of the first things Mike talks about in the podcast is the e-bike grin, and he says this is the face people make when they first step on one of his electronic bikes. The way he talks about it with such high praise and high regard shows just how much this company means to him and how much he wants to show it to other people. Additionally, Mike Radenbaugh talks about how he moved to a teepee in his backyard, which was at first to be fun, but eventually became the place where Rad Power Bikes would be started. Even to this day, Mike Radenbaugh and the other officials of Rad Power Bikes take their electronic bikes to work every day, where they park in a custom electronic bike parking lot. I certainly think that Mike Radenbaugh has taught me a lot about how I want to represent a company when I get older, as did the other CEOs and officials in these podcasts. The number one thing I'll take away from this is that I probably need to handle my impatience a little bit better. You listen to Julia Hart and Mike Radenbaugh talk about how long it took their company to start up, and usually people think that there's something has to happen right then and right now for it to be successful, but after listening to these podcasts, I've come to the conclusion that good things come to people that wait. Additionally, I think similar to Mike Radenbaugh, I will keep my circle small. There's about 50 employees of Rad Power Bikes right now, and they all know each other very well. He worked closely with one guy in the production of Rad Power Bikes, his best friend Ty, and they went on to be very successful together. I think similar to Mike, I like a smaller circle and I can communicate better to a smaller group of people rather than a large executive table. Additionally, the most important takeaway from this is that not all passions are going to be lucrative as others. Certainly we're all here to be successful one day, but similar to Khan Academy and Rad Power Bikes, it may not be the most lucrative thing at first. You might have to a little bit of money at first, but if it's something you're truly passionate about, you can make it happen and you can love doing it in the process. And I think that's something that Mike Radenbaugh and the other officials on these podcasts definitely took advantage of, and that's why their companies were so successful. I really enjoyed doing this podcast. Once again, I would work for Mike Radenbaugh if the opportunity arose. Thank you.